Marian, Harkin, and then I'll go back to
I am one of those people who take the decisions, along with Joe Higgins, and Patricia McKenna knows this already. And one of the reasons I'm saying vote yes to Lisbon is that if we do, the people who take those decisions, the Parliament and the Council of Ministers, that the Parliament will be taking the decisions in over 90% of cases, and that is democracy. And earlier you quoted Justice Frank Clark, and you rubbished the idea of the legal declarations earlier. Justice Frank Clark absolutely stands over those, so you can't quote him on one thing and then not on another. And finally, on the area of taxation, because this is crucial, this is one of the declarations we got. It's one sentence, and I'll read it. It says, nothing in the Treaty of Lisbon makes any change of any kind for any member state to the extent or operation of the competence of the European Union in relation to taxation. Nothing could be clearer. Nothing.
I want to go to you, Joe Higgins. Do you feel useless?
It also says...
No, I want to go to Joe Higgins. And this is relevant. I will come back to you in a second. Do you feel, as a member of the European Parliament, in any way powerless or useless?
I don't feel powerless and I don't feel useless because I have no illusions in the European Parliament. My first day in the European Parliament, 555 people voted for Mr. Jerzy Buzek to be president for 2.5 years. That came out of a shabby, behind-the-scenes deal between the Christian Democrats and the Social Democrats, that he would have 2.5 years and they would have the second 2.5 years with no honest debate.
555 people voted the one way. See, that's a conspiracy against you.
I never said it was a conspiracy. There is no conspiracy in Europe. The right-wing neoliberal character of the policies that are being pursued are quite out in the open. Mr. Buzek, when he was a Polish Prime Minister, savaged the public services in his country. He savaged the living standards, especially of public service, but also other workers, is a very, very right-wing neoliberal politician. That's what dominates the European Union in terms of the political elite at the present time. I am there to try to change that, to try to give representation to working people, to workers' rights, to poor people, to unemployed people, and to change the political composition of Europe where workers' representatives get through rather than the representatives of corporate Europe, the armaments and the rest of them, which predominate at the present time.
Okay, Declan Ganley, I said you could come back in again briefly.
Just the back door to interference in areas like tax, apart from the fact that the Lisbon Treaty absolutely in Article 311 of the TFEU gives the Union ability to raise its own resources, that means taxes. They also give themselves the ability to tackle what they call distortions of competition. And tax competition is something that we know President Sarkozy particularly despises. President Sarkozy, the same man that ignored the vote of his own people. And by the way, somebody said earlier, when he said he would bring the European Constitution back and as a treaty and ratify it, he said it would be a mini treaty. Instead, it's 8,000 words longer and legally exactly the same.
Michael O'Leary, your company pays very low taxes here in Ireland. How worried are you that taxes would be increased as a result of Europe having more influence over us?
Sorry, firstly, Matt, I'd say we're one of the few companies in Ireland this year that will actually be paying taxes because we're one of the few companies that will still be profitable.
But what rate of tax will you pay?
Declan likes to quote...
What rate of tax will you pay?
Declan likes to quote...
Sorry, what rate of tax will you pay?
Sorry, can I speak first?
No, sorry, can I ask you a question? I asked you the question. What rate... You say you will pay taxes. What rate of tax will you pay?
We pay a corporation tax rate in Ireland about 12.5%. That's why we're here. But I want to deal with Declan. Declan likes to quote Justice Frank Murray, who's the chairman, or Frank Clark, who's the chairman of the Referendum Commission. They've produced this document. So don't believe Declan Ganley, who you can't trust. Don't believe me. The Referendum Commission have confirmed in their publication, which actually even I can read and understand, and it confirms that if we vote yes to Europe, we retain the veto over direct taxation. It's the only way that we retain the veto over direct taxation. That's the way we prevent corporation tax rising, income tax rising, and that's the way you're going to continue to attract foreign inward investment and domestic investment in jobs from people like RyanAir. Not from Joe, he's never created a job, not from Patricia, who's never created a job, and Declan hasn't created very many jobs in this country either.
I will come back to you all after we take this short break. And thank you again to the people of the Irish Times for being so good as to allow us to come here today to do our debate in front of a live audience. We're going back to our audience for the next question. Next question comes from Mary Nolan.
How you doing? We heard you speak about the importance of democracy. Do you not think it's undemocratic to put this treaty to the people twice? And should a no vote be revealed, will it be put to the people of Ireland again?
Micheal Martin, why are we voting again when the people spoke last year?
Well, I think it's the essence of democracy to listen to the voice of the people and to act on that voice. And in essence, in the last referendum campaign, we spoke to people, we did independent research and so on, and it was very clear of the issues that concerned people. One, the retention of the Commissioner was a key issue. Thousands of posters up saying that, but we also know it from research. Two, people were concerned about our traditional policy of military neutrality. Would Lisbon impact on that? People were concerned about would Lisbon impact on our capacity to have a low corporate tax rate, which is related to job creation. People were concerned about the protection of the right to life as provided for in the Irish Constitution, and people had concerns about workers' rights. So we took those concerns, and it was far better to negotiate with our colleagues in Europe to see, okay, the Irish people want these concerns acted on. And, if you want the Lisbon Treaty to go through, if you believe in the reforms as we do, I think it was a legitimate process to go to our colleagues and say, here are the issues. They responded comprehensively and addressed all of these concerns. The Commissioner now, every member state will retain a Commissioner. And remember, our automatic right to retain a Commissioner is only guaranteed by a yes vote, not guaranteed by a no vote because of the legal situation that now under the current rules. In terms of the guarantees, we have legally binding guarantees on all of the issues that were of concern to people. And we have a very important declaration on workers' rights, which is a platform for further policy development in terms of workers' rights. So in that context then, I think it's important and it's appropriate and reasonable to say to the Irish people, given that the other 26 countries want these modest reforms to the European Union that will make it more effective and efficient, and given that they've responded comprehensively to the voice of the Irish people and to their concerns, it's reasonable to put it to the people.
Okay, I want to try and get as many people. Declan Ganley, your views on the second run of this referendum.
They're digging up this corpse yet again for now the third, fourth time, and putting it back to us again, putting some cologne and perfume on it and telling us it's different. This is the same anti-democratic formula that Europeans have rejected in multiple member states. They don't want it. Why do they not want it?
Just talk about Ireland, the second vote in Ireland.
I am talking about Ireland. The fact that we are even here having this debate is an affront to democracy because we're being forced to vote on the same thing again. And the fact is, if there was anything different in this deal, it would have had to be ratified by the other member states. And when over in Britain, when the law lords asked if it needed to be put before their parliament again, Baroness Kinnock, their Europe minister or whatever she's called, said no, there was no need because it's exactly the same. The fact, it's a classic move by this failed government that holds its own people in contempt. If having elections was such a good idea, why not put yourself forward for an election and see what happens? We have the only person whose job will be saved if the Lisbon Treaty is passed is Brian Cowen's job. That's the fact of the matter, and you are running a baseless, false campaign built on lies, trying to overturn a democratic decision, pointing a gun to the heads of the Irish people, but the problem is the gun is empty. There's nothing there. There's nothing good in this for us, and it is absolutely appalling that you have had the audacity to take this thing in front of people who had already made a democratic decision. Mick O'Leary last October himself said, it seems that only in the European Union, Ireland and Zimbabwe are you forced to have to vote twice. O'Leary said the vote should be respected. It's the only democratic thing to do.
Michael O'Leary, your response to that?
I'm glad to see Declan's brought a few friends with him. Look, we should vote yes in 2 weeks' time, because what we're voting on in 2 weeks' time is the same treaty but with much stronger guarantees. Voting yes is the only way we're going to keep a commissioner. Voting yes is the way we keep a veto here in Ireland on any changes in direct taxation. I'm surprised at Declan objecting to digging up failed political corpses, since if he thinks we should really respect the vote of the people, Declan should shut up and go back to work. And lastly, a yes vote in 2 weeks' time will not save Brian Cowen's job, because he's doomed. This government is doomed. I suspect they'll be gone by March next year.
But sorry, the question still was, do you think it's right to vote a second time when the people had made a decision last year?
I think we
Is
should.
there a problem with that?
Yes, I do think we should vote again, because we're voting on this time gives us the better protections over things like the veto on taxation and retaining a commissioner, which was what Declan and the no side voted the last time. Don't just take my word for it. Libertas' own director, Nisha Nunn, now believes we should vote yes. Even Libertas can't agree.
No, sorry, I want to try and balance this. I need to go back, to the no side, and I want to go to Patricia McKenna. No, sorry, I need to balance this out. Patricia McKenna, what do you have to fear from a second vote if you're so confident about your position?